Hello, I'm Bill O'Donnell, and welcome to another program on spirituality. Today in the studio, I have a guest that's come a long way, all the way from Omaha, Nebraska, to be with us, and he is the former past national president of Serra International, the leading vocation-inspiring group here, I guess, throughout the world. Bill Ramsey. Welcome, Bill.
Bill, thank you for having me, and I bring you greetings from Serra International and also from the Archdiocese of Omaha.
Wonderful.
So we're in your city to also see the city as well as do this program, and we thank you for the invitation.
Well, that's great. We wanted to, I did invite them. I called their national and said, gee, I'd like to do a program on vocations, and would you guys be happy to help me? And they referred me to Bill here, who said, boy, I'd love to come to Santa Fe, and so we're going to get two things at one stone, or was it two birds with one stone?
Something
That's
like
right.
That. Yes, thanks.
So let's start. First of all, the name, Serra International. Tell us about that and what does that mean?
Serra International is an organization that started in 1935 in Seattle, Washington. Four business and professional men gathered for lunches occasionally and thought that they should do something for the church, and something that wasn't being done at that time really and as a focus anyway, and they decided to focus on vocations. And then they were looking for a patron, and they thought of the Franciscan missionary, now the blessed Junipero Serra, and that became Serra International. It wasn't international for a while, but ultimately it was, and now Serra operates in 37 countries, and we have 760 clubs and about 20,000 members, and we're always looking for new members, as well as vocations of the priesthood and religious life. We need more Serrans as well, and we invite people to take a look at that, and we'll have some information on that shortly.
Yeah. So for you grandparents and parents out there who want to make sure that there are enough priests for their children and grandchildren and for the future, you might want to call your friends and tell them to watch this show, because we're going to, in a couple of minutes, we're going to run a tape. It's going to be about 12.5 minutes that will give a story about the Serrans and what they do, and it may be something that you might want to consider doing here in your hometown or your village, to get a group of people together to promote vocations, so to continue to have church services for yourselves in your future declining years, or for your children when they come up, to make sure we have enough priests, and we need to do that now in encouraging vocations. So is there anything else you want to say before we introduce this tape that really gives a great job in telling them what the Serras are and what the importance of it is?
The video was done primarily to recruit Serrans. However, we certainly touch on vocations of the priesthood and religious life as well. It's called The Spirit of Serra, trying to capture within each Serran why he or she decided on this vocation, and it is a vocation as well, to serve the church in this special ministry. So I think this program does, and we've had it out for a couple of years now, tremendous feedback on the tape. And I believe people, once they see this tape, will have a better understanding of Serra and the work that we do and the commitment we bring to the church today.
Just a quick word, I would have loved to have had time to show the life of Junipero Serra, but being a native California, growing up in Northern California, we grew up with the missions that he started. He was a Franciscan missionary that came to what is now California, and they established missions all the way up to Sonoma, which is in Northern California, and it was just a fabulous adventure and truly a remarkable one when you think about it. So I encourage you to study the life of Blessed Junipero Serra. But in the meantime, sit back and relax. This tape will last about 12.5 minutes, and it'll give you a better idea of what Serra International does, and we hope you'll enjoy it. And stay tuned with us. We'll come back and talk about it some more after the tape. So Eric, please roll it at your convenience. Stay tuned.
Had no idea his name would one day be linked to an international organization devoted to fostering vocations to the priesthood and religious life. He was a Franciscan missionary named Father Junipero Serra. In the spirit of an apostle, Father Serra traveled throughout California, establishing missions and changing lives, introducing everyone he met to Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church.
He had the spirit of an apostle. He felt sent. He felt that God was asking him to help these people. And he literally gave his life for the peoples of California.
The spirit of Father Serra is one that has transcended generations. Today, his spirit continues to inspire men and women of faith who, in the spirit of Junipero Serra, have dedicated themselves to the support of vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Today, men and women from all over the United States make up the USA Council of Serra International, all dedicated to fostering and promoting vocations to the ministerial priesthood and religious life, as well as encouraging its members to grow in their knowledge of their Catholic faith.
Serra really has two purposes in its endeavors. One, for its own personal growth of each member, that each member grow in Christian values and knowledge of their own vocation in life, and second, in support of vocations to the priesthood and the religious life.
Being a Serra is being a Christian steward, in my way of thinking. It is giving back to God a generous portion of our time, our talent, and our treasure in gratitude for all that he has given us.
Well, I think the biggest value is it's a way to give back in time, not just money and contributions, but most importantly, a time to being current, learning and staying current with what vocations to the religious life is like today.
Being a Serran also helps you to learn more about your faith. And that to me is one of the most important things, because we do learn about our faith in our programs, and through our faith journey, understand why we need more vocations.
Through various programs and events which foster vocation awareness, Serra clubs offer men and women an opportunity to learn more about the priesthood and religious life.
What greater gift could we give to the church than to at least play a small role in encouraging a young man or a young lady to become a priest or religious? Think of the ripples if you drop a stone into a pond, that one life whom you have touched, the ripples, the lives, the baptisms, the number of people that they will touch. What greater gift could we give to our church than to helping to encourage a young man or woman to become a priest or religious? That is what Serra is all about.
The spirit of the mission and ministry of Serra is rooted in its history. Recognizing the need for an association that would advance the cause of Catholicism and support continuing education in the Catholic faith, 4 Catholic laymen founded the first Serra Club in Seattle on February 27, 1935. The original purpose was expanded to include the work of fostering vocations to the priesthood, and provided a significant foundation for Serra's future efforts. The name Serra was chosen in honor of Father Junipero Serra, the Franciscan missionary and apostle of California.
People who look carefully at the life of Father Serra are going to be inspired. As, modesty apart, I was. And I have to say that I owe my vocation in great part to Father Serra. I think that Fra Junipero Serra embodies the spirit of an apostle, because if you look at his life, you find that he was driven by the fire inside of him to carry the gospel to people that had never heard about Jesus or seen any of his representatives. And he did this against great obstacles.
Father Serra is our patron, has been since the organization started in the 1930s. It's a perfect choice, I think, for so many reasons. First of all, he himself was a missionary, and our work as missionary, really, we're out in the vineyards helping our Lord in identifying and even inviting young men and women, or men and women of any age really, to consider priesthood, religious life. Father Serra, I think, to us is more than a patron. He is definitely someone that we pray to. He was beatified in 1988, which is the final step before canonization, and Serrans are now working together as a group for the first time, really in a concerted effort to push or advance his canonization.
The life of Blessed Junipero Serra provides the foundational spirit behind Serra's growth and structure. USA Council of Serra International now has clubs in every region of the United States. Each Serra club embracing the common goal of promoting vocations to the priesthood and religious life.
The Serra Club supports me as a priest because they value what priesthood is all about. They realize, really, without the priest, we have no Eucharist. Without the Eucharist, we have no church. Without the church, we have no diocese. It becomes a real structure. A gift given to us by God is the priesthood, not because I deserve it, but because God uses the priesthood to touch people in a very special way. The Serrans, in a very special way, come to appreciate that in their lives.
It's inspiring just to see the Serrans together, supportive of me and the work that I do as pastor of the church. But also it's encouraging to see the laity wanting to be involved in the mission of the church. Particularly, it's the mission of calling forth men and women to the priesthood and consecrated life.
Calling forth women to the consecrated life is an integral part of the mission of Serra. The eyes of faith allow people to see the presence of God in everyday life. It is this vision of faith that helps Serrans grow in faith and help serve the vocation of women religious.
We have to know every day when we get up that we're clothed with a dignity produced by the death and resurrection of Christ, which isn't necessarily visible to eyes of people who don't have faith. And yet we can hold that. But I think when we're with Serrans and we're with people of faith, they see it.
In their relationship to each local diocese, through the bishop and vocation director, Serra clubs provide a clear voice, proclaiming the value of vocations.
Serrans are people who have a voice, speaking out, saying, we as a church, we as lay people, we value priesthood. We value what the priest does. We value the Eucharist. We value Christ and the sacraments in our church. We value it so much, we're willing to put our money, our time, our energies into supporting and encouraging vocations.
Hello.
Many Serrans discover that their work experience provides skills and backgrounds instrumental to the mission of Serra.
My background has been one of strategic planning and strategic development, corporate development. I've spent 30-something years in the for-profit business world, and these skills are transferable. I myself have joined the vocations committee, and I'm really looking forward to trying to help with developing thoughts and programs and ideas as how we might be able to support the efforts of the church here in fostering vocations.
Ever rejoice in his consolation through
The
Christ
journey
our
of
Lord.
faith that brings Serrans together in service of promoting vocations to the priesthood and religious life is a journey of discovery and fulfillment, one that truly touches the soul.
I value being a Serran because it has truly changed my life.
Any new Serra member, whether they're a man or a woman, but especially women, have so much to offer to the local Serra clubs.
The spirit of Serra to me is hope.
Look at it.
When I look out at the members of our Serra Club, as I do twice every month, I see the men and women leaders of our diocese. These are men and women active, involved in their parishes. These are men and women of families, who have hope. These men and women really impact the church, local and even universal. These Serrans are men and women who take what they believe and proudly profess it.
We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns.
The spirit of Serra is a story of a spirit which embraces the heart and soul of its members. A spirit that finds its inspiration in the motto of its patron, Blessed Junipero Serra. Always to go forward, never to turn back. And in the tradition of Blessed Serra, every member knows there are vocations which manifest themselves. They must be fostered. There are vocations which are not conscious of themselves. They must be awakened. There are vocations which do not dare manifest themselves. They must be found and encouraged. There are vocations which are in fear of being lost. They must be reassured. There are vocations which meet opposition. They must be strengthened. There are vocations which are paralyzed by poverty. They must be helped financially.
Yeah, okay.
For information on other programs produced by Stepstone Productions, contact us at Stepstone Productions.
That was a great tape, Bill. Thank you. I want to thank Stepstone Productions and Serra International for providing that tape. It really does a marvelous job.
It's a beauty. We've had a lot of good feedback, and I think a lot of new Serrans as a result of that. We hope maybe vocation to the priesthood and religious life, people who see what we're doing and see the work of Father Serra and how what an inspiration he has been as a vocation.
Father Serra may not be the most famous Franciscan around here, but we're in Franciscan territory here in New Mexico, because it was right here over 400 years ago that the Spanish Franciscans first crossed what's now the Rio Grande to bring Christianity into this part of the world, and it's been here ever since. And Father Serra was one of a later generation of Franciscans to come and specialize primarily in Mexico and in California, and established how many missions? I don't know.
He had 9 missions he founded himself, but certainly there were 21 missions total now, and Franciscans founded them all. He's at St. Carlos Borromeo in Carmel. That's where he is buried. And he's an inspiration to us. The Serrans, I should say, too, are working hard with daily prayer for his canonization. He was beatified in Rome in 1988, and we pray daily for his canonization.
Well, it's a natural here in New Mexico to think of the Archdiocese of Santa Fe as the Holy Faith of St. Francis.
That's right.
Which Blessed Junipero Serra was a son of Francis, so it's something close to our heart. There's a couple things we've only, in the minutes that we have left to talk about it, I see you guys have some really good recommendations for people to help promote vocations here, and I love this one, organize a church vocations committee in each parish.
Right.
That sounds like a great idea.
It's one that we've had on the table for quite a while, but we are now focusing on it as our #1 priority. And that really means going personally to the pastor of the parish, designated parish, asking the pastor's help and the parish council as well, probably, to help start a parish vocations committee. The committee is made up not of Serrans out from the outside, but if they're Serrans in the parish or simply members of the parish, to form that committee. In fact, I just am now chairman of my committee at St. Margaret Mary in Omaha, and we just formed that committee in our own parish, which is a little bit late, I thought, but it's going now. We have 12 members. We thought we'd take the number of disciples or apostles, and it's very easy to do. You have some projects that you go into, posters in the foyer of the church, praying the rosary. We've just also initiated, starting this year, this fall, adoration, exhibition, adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. And I know many churches in this area are very well known for that. And we want to do more of that, and simply promoting awareness of the vocations. And of course, God is the one who calls the man or the woman for the vocation, but we can remind people that those calls are coming. And there's also our Archbishop Eldon Francis Curtis, a former Episcopal advisor of Serra, said vocations don't just happen, ask somebody. And that's what Serrans do, and other people should be encouraged to do that as well.
I see the statistic, says statistics show that 80% of the 18 to 30-year-olds in the United States and Canada have never been asked to consider a church vocation.
That's right.
That's a chilling statistic.
It's right, and that we have so many programs about this very things. We invite. In fact, our theme last year during my presidency was pray, invite, encourage, and affirm. Pray, invite, encourage. And affirm came in because of the difficulties in the church. We wanted to affirm the 99% of the priests and religious are doing such a good job in all these years. And the affirmation is such an important part of the work we do. And we have many programs in Serra, if a person would be a part of a Serra club, that affirm them, and we also affirm priests and religious, and support them in every way we possibly can. That's our work, and I've been in a lot of organizations, but Serra is my favorite, and it's really been part of my life for over 30 years. And anyone who gets in Serra stays in Serra, because it's once a Serran, always a Serran. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Happen to be one of those too, but I just I really believe that sincerely, and I'm very proud of what we do. And Pope John Paul II, just a few years ago when we had a meeting in Rome, the International Convention, called Serra the lay vocation arm of the church. And that is about as high a praise as you can get coming from the Holy Father. Yeah. And we're going to be there with our international board meeting in Rome in early October to meet with him. Again, we're having an audience with him. God willing, that will happen. I know he's in poor health, but we're praying for him daily as well.
That's wonderful. So if you're sitting around at home wondering what's going to happen to your church, I mean, our church in that regard, certainly the number one thing to do is pray, and that's to pray for yourself and your family and your friends and your loved ones, but to pray for your church too, and to pray that God will call some young men and women to religious life, so that this information and this sharing and this grace can continue long after we're gone. I think that's the important thing. We're part of this too. We can't sit back and let Father do everything or Sister do everything, but to also encourage your kids in their vocation, whatever that vocation might be.
We're working a good deal too, Bill, and your audience, on campus ministry, Teens Encounter Christ, focus groups, many groups out there, young people that we are certainly approaching and being part of us. We're helping them, support them as we can. And at the same time, we always welcome Serrans of any age, as we do in the priesthood now. You talked about that with earlier interviews, that a person of any age may become a Serran, but we do need young people to keep the Serra movement alive and moving forward. In fact, Father Serra's a word, and I think it's a good reminder for the church today, always to go forward and never to turn back.
Yeah, I like that. That meant a lot, I guess, in early California, where there are no roads, and there was, when you went forward, there was nothing out there but whatever you brought with you or you found.
That's correct.
And by the grace of the Native Americans there who welcomed him, I suspect a lot.
He was dearly loved by them and baptized thousands of Native Americans, and he had a disability himself. He was a very small man, 5'4" tall, and he didn't become a missionary until he was 58 years old, so late vocations are certainly in and should be welcomed. And died at the mission at Carmel, but he was much beloved and gave so much himself. In most of his travels, he traveled farther than Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus combined, two of the greatest explorers in the world's history. He traveled by donkey or by walking.
Yeah.
And much of theirs was by ship or by horseback.
And probably either barefoot or sandaled then.
Yeah, probably sandaled.
That's great. So we want to encourage you at home to talk to your parish priest. If there's not a vocation committee in your parish, talk it up and see if that's something that some people could do, and to help identify people of any age. We heard last week from the vocation director, Father Scott Mansfield, that they're taking people, you got to be at least 18 these days. They don't take the younger kids anymore. But they've ordained guys as old as early 70s, I think.
That's correct.
But also other men could consider a religious life either as a brother or as a monk, or in the same with women, as a religious woman, a sister or a nun, or a lay person.
Yes. We also might mention in the War Against Terrorism, this is a magazine cover, the Serra magazine, a few months ago, featuring Father Emil Capon, who is a priest from the Wichita Diocese. And Father Capon was in Korea the same time I was, 1951, a chaplain with the 1st Cavalry Division, was a prisoner of war, died in a prison camp helping his fellow prisoners. They starved him and he was sick and they did not care for him. And his canonization is being moved forward also by Veterans of America. And he's a chaplain. I bring this up because chaplains are a very important part of the priesthood. And they are looking for a few good chaplains now, I mean a lot of good chaplains, who are serving around the world with our men and women in the services.
Yeah, we have quite a few good here. We've had several on this show, Father Ricardo Rousseau, Father Mike Shea, Father Arthur Jacobiak, just to name a few of the chaplains here. And I remember interviewing the late Father Angelico Chavez, the famous Franciscan historian, and he told me some wonderful stories about his life as a combat chaplain in World War II, hitting the beaches in Normandy or someplace. It was phenomenal. So that's another opportunity to serve, even
it is an opportunity,
military as well as a chaplain.
It's exciting, but in the main thing, you're helping young people in a very stressful situation. He was also in World War II and then went back and went to a second war and was killed in the second war. We also should mention, Bill, that for information, more information or materials even, to write or call our Serra office in Chicago. That's the headquarters. But we mainly want to have people join Serra, of course, and then be part of the Serra movement.
That's great. Okay, we just have a minute left. Is there any wrap-up statement you'd like to make for those folks at home?
Well, I'm proud to say that we have an international, Serra International, and our president this year is Alex Duncan from Glasgow, Scotland. And the person who succeeded me in Chicago this year as the president of the United States Council is Jim DeNike of Houston, Texas. So we indeed have the U.S. covered well, I think, and our Serra International, Alex Duncan's a tremendous Catholic and a tremendous leader. And Serra wants to continue to serve our church, and particularly in these difficult times for our country and for our church.
Mm-hmm. And we do have some existing Serra clubs in Albuquerque and in Gallup and some other places. So, but if you'd like to start one here in Santa Fe or in Los Alamos or Taos or Las Vegas or any place, Raton, we'd love for you to contact them. Please watch the credits. You'll see an 800 number that you can call them, and they'll put you in touch with the local chapters and also find out what you can do to perhaps start a Serra group right here in your own hometown or village.
And we'd be happy to send somebody from our Chicago office out to help. We have a district governor in El Paso, Francis Flood, who would be happy to help as well. So we're well connected and ready to roll and to do good work for the church.
All right, you lay people out there, don't sit back. Try and make this happen for your families in the future and the future of the church. So I want to thank you, Bill, for coming. It's been great to have you, and thank the Serra International and everyone for providing this information we have today. So I want to thank you for viewing, and we'd love to hear from you. So let us know if you enjoy this kind of programming. Watch the credits, give us a call, let us know. In the meantime, this is Bill O'Donnell for Spirituality TV signing off, and stay tuned next week at this time for another program on spirituality.